and the bears are capitulating. You can see over here a massive short squeeze is underway, and consequently this is why you have a across the board green crypto bubbles chart, other than the poor FTT token over there getting absolutely hammered once again. But if you look over here at what 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗍 says, he says, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Altseason, and I'm sure a lot of you out there saw the massive move there on Ethereum. So Ethereum did pop, and we know the flow of money. Ethereum has broken very high time frame key resistance, and consequently, as long as it can hold above $2,000, there really may be an opportunity for that rotational game and the rotation of money into other altcoins, and so far it's looking good. As Andrew Kang says over here, he says there's three forms of capitulation. You get time, price, and FUD capitulation. These are the tools that the market uses to transfer coins from weak hodlers to strong. When enough capitulation has occurred, the market is free to trend higher to higher prices, and we've had enough. And he says here, capitulatory buying, often a delayed onset side effect of capitulatory selling. So after capitulating to the downside, selling all their coins, then obviously these market participants start to capitulate back towards the upside and jump back into the market. And that's kind of what's going on at the moment. If you look at this psychology of a market cycle Wall Street cheat sheet, you know that usually you move through these phases of disbelief, hope, optimism, belief, thrill, and euphoria. This is the entire bull market cycle. Usually you have a major sell-off that takes place and then a complacency bounce. In Bitcoin's prior cycle, the complacency bounce led to a higher high, which is a bit ironic. We went from 65k top over here on the left-hand side to a complacency bounce at 69. It doesn't always need to match absolutely perfectly, but nevertheless, you have the complacency bounce where they say we just need to cool off for the next rally, and then prices start to sell off. So why am I getting margin calls? The dip is taking longer than expected. Denial. My investments are with great companies or great cryptos, and they will come back. Panic. Shit, everyone is selling. I need to get out. Capitulation. I'm getting 100% out of the market. I can't afford to lose more. And then here's the big one. This happened. I remember it very clearly. The anger phase. Who shorted the market, and why did the government allow this to happen? That sounds familiar when you think of FTX and all the banks that were starting to go down. That was kind of that phase. I still also feel that this could have dragged on a bit longer for this depression phase, so I'm not completely sold on the idea yet, but this would be my retirement money is lost. How can we pay for all of this new stuff? I'm an idiot for getting into crypto. I'm not sure that we got that phase yet, but we definitely are over here now. Disbelief, this is a sucker's rally. That's definitely the narrative that's being driven at the moment, and most people have been completely caught off guard, and they don't believe that prices are moving the way that they are. They can't believe it, and prices keep going up higher. But you guys have been here for a long time, so let me know in the comments, have you survived? Have you made profit along the way? And did you take any of the long calls? Let's see, we have 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, we have Native, Peter Rogers, the Taylors, Ivan, welcome back. We have Dave, we have 𝗏𝗏𝗿𝗆, Bjorn, Luke, welcome back guys. Thank you so much for joining. Smash the like button as well. It does help to get the algorithm going and get the show out there. And let's continue over here with the show. So definitely the talk of the town at the moment is Ethereum. You have McKenna who says here, everyone is so bullish ETH post Shanghai and already seeing capital flows from Bitcoin into ETH. Yesterday we had that big spike up in the BTC ETH chart, and he says makes sense until you realize that layer 2 beta means that you never need to own ETH again. Layer 2 thesis is still alive and strong. So he believes that flow of capital is going to go from Ethereum, and the next narrative is the layer 2s. Yesterday on the show, I did give you a layer 2 portfolio list. I showed you where you can find all the layer 2s and which ones to keep your eye out on for the upcoming future. But I do want to also caution you and say that these transitionary phases within these cycles, they take time. So you have Bitcoin season, then you have Ethereum season, and then it moves into the other coins. But it takes time. You don't want to front run this too quickly. So at the moment, let's just focus on Ethereum for now. And if you look over here at Martoon, he says, just see the difference between the Bitcoin and Ethereum. This is with the volumes. And he says, in the most recent hours, there's almost no strong market buying on Bitcoin, but there is on Ethereum long very long time since we've seen this. So that means there's a transition, right? People are starting to adopt a stronger risk appetite for crypto and starting to look to move into other coins. Now, you do have to be careful because, of course, the possibility is still there that this could be a broader deviation back into the bigger range that we've had for a long period of time. And consequently, that means that you could be trapped as a long. So it's all fun and well, you know, when the shorts get squeezed and you're playing the long side, great. You ride that up as much as you can, but then you need to start to be careful because usually the longs will start to get trapped at some point, and we'll identify where those levels could come into play. So if we look over here at the indicator, which basically shows us a Bitcoin season or alt season, you can see in relation to the prior bear markets, we're in the same sort of environment where the lows were set. So have a look at the bottom, we're down to 14 and it is slowly starting to tick up over here. We have our first notable tick. And this coincides as well with the Bitcoin dominance, which has come down. I'll touch on that Bitcoin dominance soon because that has to confirm back into the range as well for us to be sure that this alt season is really going to happen. But if it is going to happen, this is kind of the path to alt season. This is what you'd be looking at. So you go through phase one. We already had that, right? The flow of money moves into Bitcoin, causing price surges. Bitcoin went from $19,700 around there, give or take. That's where the market structure first started to change and rallied all the way up to about $30,000. Then you have the phase overlap. The money flows into Ethereum, but it struggles to keep up with Bitcoin. Ethereum goes back and forth with Bitcoin and starts outperforming it. So that's kind of the phase that we're getting to now, is the phase overlap phase. So it's not too late, by the way. If you're wondering, oh, I missed Ethereum, if this is really going to happen and we're going to start to move into phase two, I'll show you where you can potentially buy the dip on Ethereum. Phase two, you have now Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin and we can hear talks of the flippening again. And then you go from there, the phase overlap again. Money is starting to trickle into the large caps where we see large buy-ups happening. And then you go into phase three. Ethereum has been outperforming Bitcoin and the large caps are going parabolic. And then the phase overlap, regardless of the market cap, some altcoins with strong fundamentals are having pumps. And then bang, phase four alt season. So can you say, look how long this process takes before you actually in alt season? It's still going to be a long way away. It doesn't mean that alts won't run, but at the moment I think the focus is still between Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then slowly we'll start to move into these. So what do you expect in alt season? Well, large caps have gone full vertical and we're seeing blow off tops. Mid caps, low caps, micro caps all tend to pump around the same time. Large caps have been outperforming Bitcoin and Ethereum. It seems that every coin is going parabolic regardless of fundamentals. Memes are everywhere, everyone is super excited, and you feel the mania in the air, but you always think it's going to go higher. My litmus test is whenever I start to look at sports cars, this is kind of what I've identified. I always start looking for sports cars right around when the top is getting set. So when you start looking for fancy things, then you know the chances are that you're in that parabolic phase. We, of course, a very, very long way away from this at the moment, not even close, but just keep that in mind for the future. So if you look here at Bitcoin open interest, as per Coinalyze, the open interest now has increased 30% over the last 24 hours. So massive, massive buying interest coming in on Ethereum. But it doesn't mean that it's just going to top out over here. These trends can continue. And again, we'll cover those levels shortly. I wanted to show you the levels over here on the monthly chart. Remember, I showed you yesterday, and look how quick this candle expanded. Yesterday, we were somewhere down here around 1900. And I told you, you're looking all the way up towards this moving average over here, which, let me just double check. What is it? I have the 20. That is the yellow 20 MA. That's coming in at around $2,300. Ethereum is going to run into some resistance. Same as Bitcoin. If you look at Bitcoin on the monthly, coming into its resistance even closer, that's coming in at around 32,383. And then you just expect a pause, slight pullback from that region, and then those pullbacks are going to become buying opportunities. So all in all, it is looking pretty good. Also, yesterday we did get the PPI inflation data out, so I know a little bit boring amongst all the hype with the altcoins. We'll get onto the altcoins soon. I thought it's just worth mentioning over here that the March PPI inflation hit 2.7%, which was below the expectation of 3%. So another good sign. Core PPI inflation came in at 3.4%, in line with what they expected, and the PPI inflation fell from 4.9 to 2.7. So that's huge in 1 month. That is a big drop, and he says this is the largest monthly drop since inflation had peaked in 2022. And overall, it's a good thing, right? You'll be looking up. So here, TED Talks also identifies it. He says over here that it fell further than expected. And basically, you can see the way that inflation is coming down if you look at that bar chart over there. Okay, Bitcoin, in line with the Gaussian channel, the upper side, you're expecting some sort of a pause around that level, same as what I just showed you around the 20 MA on the monthly chart. Expect a pause, and that pause doesn't necessarily have to pull back. We'll be hoping for a pullback. I'm sure a lot of you will be. Otherwise, it could potentially just go sideways, and then you're just going from bull flag, right? Bull flag into potentially bull flag, and it's pretty much bull flag after bull flag until they stop. So Gaussian channel on Ethereum, you can see its upper band is coming in at $2,356. $2,356. So there is still some legs on Ethereum over here. Let's see if you quickly measure this out. Then you got another 10% move on Ethereum. And this can happen quicker than what you would actually expect, which is interesting over there. Okay, the range levels over here. I'm just going to use a rough tool to quickly show you what I'm talking about, why you have to be careful in case of a deviation. I'm not playing the short side by any means, by the way. I haven't shorted the market, I don't think, other than like very minor trades. I haven't swing shorted the market pretty much this whole year. But you're kind of looking at that, right? This was the main range that price was in. Then you had the deviation on the downside. Now, we identified all the way, guys, all the way back down here. I said, pay attention because at some point there might be a strong move towards the upside, which we're getting to now. Then you have the drawn liquidity, which is coming into this zone over here. That's your drawn liquidity at 32,376. And I said, be careful because you don't know if there's going to be another deviation like that. And ultimately, you come back into the range, right? So you guys can see it. Deviation to the downside, deviation above, and potentially, I'm not necessarily playing it this way. I'm not even shorting the market at all, but I am aware that there is a possibility that something like that could take place. And you would expect that both bulls and bears would get tested. So there will come a time where the market does start to pull back and it looks awfully like it's going to be a deviation back into that range. And then we'll reevaluate. Is it going to actually be a deviation, or is it just going to be a higher low opportunity to get back into the market and send prices higher? So we'll reevaluate closer to the time. We're not yet at that point. As per the weekly chart, pretty much that's it. Weekly chart, we're looking at 32,424. And then importantly, we need to see how the weekly candle closes, because if it closes back as a wick, you could get a swing failure pattern to the upside. In that event, then you would be expecting that prices come down next week. But as a trending move goes, everything is looking pretty strong. You can see over here, prices above the short term, the medium term, and the long term moving average. Let's look at Ethereum. We haven't brought up Ethereum on this chart over here. So in relation, you can see Ethereum is still lackluster despite the euphoria and the excitement today around Ethereum. You can see it actually in the greater scheme of things, we really are only just in these beginning phases, right? We are only somewhere here in between the blue and the green, with the phase overlap phase hasn't even started to happen yet when you consider this, because it still needs to recapture those EMAs or the MAs at least in a very healthy fashion, in the same way that Bitcoin did. So Ethereum, to me, Ethereum is actually somewhere around here. In relation to Bitcoin, Ethereum is still actually somewhere in this region over here. Because look at Bitcoin, look at the chart posturing, look at the different MAs, now look at Ethereum. So Ethereum still needs to turn up. There's still potentially a lot of upside here if this is in fact going to play out the same way that Bitcoin did. All right, let's move on. The VIX. The VIX is another interesting thing that I think you do need to pay attention to. These indicators, you want to pay most attention to them when they are at the extremities. And if you look at Charlie over here, he says the VIX ended the day at 1780, which is its lowest close in 15 months. And here you can pull up my chart over there. You can see 1781 pretty much contracted right down to those extremely low levels. I do want to remind you, if you overlay this, and I don't have the overlay chart anymore, but if you overlay this, the circled area that I have, the yellow circle over here, this was essentially where the stock market put in its major top. So let me zoom out. So if you correlate the VIX with the stock market, this is the exact top for the stock market when the VIX contracted into those low levels. And every single one of these other levels that came into the box over here correspond with the resistance zone. So there, and then we started to enter more into a range, right? So there's a couple of things over here. You have to use the VIX in context. I've told you this before. You have to use it in context. When is it important? So if price is in the middle of no man's land and the VIX, the price on the S&P 500 is in no man's land, but the VIX is at low levels, then you don't take it as seriously because it can stay there. But if you start to see that the S&P 500 is coming into a key level, which it is, we're approaching range high now and the VIX is at low levels, then it's time to pay attention in case, and I'm not even calling for this, I actually think this is more likely to break to the upside than the down, but in case it does start to reject one more time. Now, why do I think it's more likely to break up and down, up then down? I just think that the bears, which are also in the stock market, have been caught by surprise. They're in complete disbelief phase. They weren't able to identify that this downtrend is starting to end the way that we did. We said when we started to cross above here, it's time to pay attention. And once this happened, we said, okay, that's it. Cancel this megaphone pattern, the expanding megaphone pattern to the downside. It's not really relevant. It's more a range. We need to treat this as a range, and we've been treating it as such. But now it's been in this range for a long time. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 touch points, 5 touch points, 6 touch points, 7. How long is this range going to continue to hold? Well, I don't think it will be that much longer. The more times you hit into this range high level, the higher the probability becomes that you're going to start to expand through to the upside. And then consequently, those shorts are going to get taken out and they're going to have to close their positions, thus creating a big short squeeze to the upside. So critical point over there. The other thing that's in an interesting spot is the dollar. So when all of these align, I just want to be more cautious. That's all that I'm saying. When all these factors align, so stock market coming into range high, VIX at the lowest level seen in 15 months, and then you have the dollar, which is coming below this level over here, which is the liquidity zone, right? So I'll give full disclosure over here that I was definitely completely wrong on this, in that I was looking for the dollar to bounce from this level over here. I think from this level, once we set in that low, I was looking for a bounce up to that 104.89 level. But yesterday you could see that it started to turn back over, and I tweeted about this. I said, look, we're falling below a key pivot level over here. You're starting to break below that zone, and now it looks like the dollar could continue on lower. If you see a daily close below the prior low that we set in, which is coming in at 100.8 over there, then this is going to fall through. And then crypto is really going to start to rally. So do keep an eye out on that. I would say this would fall through, crypto would rally, the stock market would break through this range high, and that's my expectations. So now on the Bitcoin dominance, here it is. I said also, I made a tweet about this yesterday, and I said, why would this time be any different? We're coming into these range highs, right? Why would it be any different and not reject in the same way that it did every single other time? And there, would you know, it's rejecting. So we need to wait for a confirmed close underneath this level. Then that would be considered a small deviation to the downside, and that will give the altcoins at least a little bit of relief in the days to come. So let's monitor this closely over the course of the weekend. If this remains below going into the weekend, by the way, I would expect that the weekend could have a lot of green altcoins, because, you know, speculators, which is mostly retail, they're at home on the weekend. They're not at work, so they can sit and focus on which coins they want to buy up. And that's oftentimes where you see illiquid books, so not high liquidity in the market. And therefore, a couple of retail investors start to jump in. When I say a couple, I mean tens of thousands of them. Then that can obviously push price up aggressively, right? Because the liquidity was already low. Speaking of liquidity, you can see a small uptick that's starting to take place from the People's Bank of China. Very, very small, not necessarily anything major yet. it. Also, net US liquidity had a little bit of a green uptick yesterday, but we're still waiting for those major trending moves, especially in the stablecoin supply, which we are yet to see. Total. Let's quickly see total. Total, you can now say on the full total market cap on the 3-day chart, this breakout is starting to look real. 1.32 trillion is your next target. That means for the whole market, obviously a lot more flow of money can come in. That's another 6%. So you can expect that alt most likely will rally. There you have total 2, also breaking above. So it's having a breakout above this pink box, which cap price or cap the chart at least to the downside for a long period of time. And more than likely, we're going to close up here. Once you close up here, you target towards the range high. And then the real fun begins when you break above that. What about total 3? There you have it. Also, some changes over here. Look at that. Finally, once again, breaking above this diagonal. So this is important, guys, because a lot of you think that you're too late. You've missed the boat. Everything is flying. You haven't. This trend line has only just been broken, and we're only just breaking above the range high. You want to see a closing candle happen over there. Once that close happens, there's your opportunity. Right, let me just see some of these comments. There we go. Okay, I see someone said, let me bring that up over there. I don't know if I can bring these comments up, but it says 𝗪𝗏𝗏 thinks that we are in a complacency stage. So let's quickly go to that over here. I'll move it up. 𝗪𝗏𝗏 thinks that we are, where's that chart? Have I got the right one? Here we go, this one. He thinks that we're in the complacency stage over here. He thinks that about the stock market. So he's looking at a much higher time horizon. And is it possible? Of course it's possible. If that were the case in the stock market and the stock market were to come back down, then of course crypto is going to tank, right? Crypto is going to tank. But we will monitor this. Well, that's why we play it level to level, right? At the moment, I wouldn't go long into resistance over here on the stock market. But if it does start to reject from here, then and break below the mid-range, then you can start to say, okay, maybe he's right. If we're in the complacency stage of the stock market, maybe he's right. Now you're below mid-range, and then you can again start to target all the way back down to actually what was my main target was from the pre-COVID levels, this area over here at between 3,200 and 3,300. But luckily, guys, you know, a superpower that you have is as a retail trader, you can choose when you want to trade. The thing is, with big funds, they have to be in positions all the time to rebalance their books and things like that. They can't not trade. They have to always have a position somewhere. You have a superpower that you can trade today, and if things come back down over here, you can exit if you want. It's up to you. Fred is at the window again. You guys know the faces he likes to pull at the windows over here. All right. Also, the bearish divergence is still in play. It has not failed yet. It's still in play. You got 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch. You got 1 touch, 2 touch, and we're slowly starting to peek through there. Same as the OBV, 1, 2, and 3. But ultimately, I said yesterday that this is not necessarily something that means that altcoins are going to nuke. I said bearish divergence on Bitcoin could actually be a good thing for the altcoins, because if the sell-off is slow and controlled, you'd expect that flow of money to go into the altcoins. And you can see the altcoins are starting to do well. You know that the 1-year portfolio has been in the red for a lot of the time, and now suddenly it's just jumped straight up 6% in profit. So we'll keep adding to these. The bots are ongoing. I don't touch them. They just buy every single day, buy up, buy down, buy all around, and then we see at the end of the year where that's at. All right, Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin does push a little bit higher, the bearish divergence would still be in play. But ultimately, you'd be looking for this to be a reactionary area. So the gray box, you push above into 32,300 level. I'm kind of looking around there. 33,000, if you guys remember, was actually my main target. I was looking for like 33 and then possibly an over-under scenario, right? So over and then back under into the range. And then that would be the top. That would open the opportunity for a short position. And then you can come further down. So look, I'm not a major fan of these parabolic trend lines, but nevertheless, I thought let me put one in. It does fit. And it does line up as well with these key levels. So this is kind of what you're looking at. Let's just move this up for you on Bitcoin. And we'll pull that up. So here you can see the levels. Why do I have to be OCD? Why am I born like this? There we go. Okay, so if you have a look at this, at these levels over here, obviously you've held that level, bounce, came down. This also happened to be the 200-day moving average, which is what I used as my invalidation to time my long on Bitcoin. And then I obviously offloaded everything over here at 28,500. Okay, so now you're looking at if there is any pullbacks, and you can see the confluence that comes into this level. These could present buying opportunities. You have something to work with now. You have a parabolic line. It works with the moving averages and EMAs as well, lines up nicely, and you have your horizontals. So kind of mark your chart out like that. Ethereum, let's look at Ethereum BTC quick. Yesterday it had that big move. Do you remember? Price was down here when I did the show yesterday, and I said to you, look, it seems like the narrative is starting to shift on Twitter towards Ethereum. And I told you, look, I prefer to focus on technicals, and technicals I'd be looking for further down at about 0.05, which is, or 0.055, which is still like another 10% down for the ETH BTC chart. But I told you as well that what you can do is you can just have this horizontal line here and then go long and basically put your invalidation underneath that wick, because sometimes the sentiment within markets can shift the whole market. And I said the words, call it market manipulation or whatever you want to call it. So if you took that, congratulations. I have a bit of a sad story to tell. So I tried to take this trade, and to make a very long story short, I took the trade on spot. And this might be a lesson for some of you guys. So I took a spot trade position because market's moving quick. I don't need leverage, whatever. So what happened was, once I was in the position, I then wanted to set a stop loss. And setting a stop loss, it was on 𝗍𝗶𝗃. The trade was on 𝗍𝗶𝗃. When you try set the stop loss afterwards, it's a bit of a challenging thing to do. And it doesn't work the same that it would with leverage, right? Leverage, you can easily just enter, exit, put your TP, put your stops. I couldn't do that. So consequently, I had the perfect entry. I'll actually bring up the chart and show you more or less where I was. Let's move on to a low time frame. So this was the exact trade that I took. Okay, all the way down here. Let's move back. So what I was doing is I was watching price over here. This is how I time my low time frame entries. Basically on like the 5-minute chart, and I was watching, I bought on this trend line over here. So when price came into this zone, I laid all my orders over here at 19, I think my average entry was 1986. Okay, so then price started to break out. It got above here, and I was like, okay, cool. I now just want to put in my stop, and I couldn't put in the stop. So I put a limit sell, thinking that it would sell only if price came down below where my invalidation was going to be, below this level at 1977. And instead, it sold my entire position. So I was like, shit, I need to try get back into this trade. So I then tried to open it on a leverage position. I can't remember where it was exactly, but basically my invalidation was too tight. I got stopped out, and then obviously the rest is history. You can see what price has done now, right? So this was what I expected to happen, because it was creating a bull flag on the low time frame. I was expecting consolidation, and rip to the upside. So this is now, instead of ripping to the upside, I'm now ripping, and I'm kind of looking at it like this. I'm trying to monitor if there is an opportunity to get back in. The way that I'm viewing this on a very, very low time frame, as long as Ethereum holds above this level over here, which is at about, you can see where you had the major move up, this should kind of form yet another bull flag with the potential to push up higher. So I'm kind of watching this trend line over here, but it could also, remember, these trades can morph, right? It could morph into a flag, into a box, horizontal box, as opposed to having a diagonal. This can easily break down, but ultimately I want to see this level hold. So if some of you out there have also missed your position, guys, I missed, it was a huge position, similar to my trade that I took on Bitcoin from 19.7 all the way to 28K. I view this as what could have potentially become a similar swing trade, but instead I'm now taking on a huge amount of risk by entering higher. And unfortunately, these things happen in trading. It is what it is. So I'm looking for new positions as well to enter into the market, and I'll definitely let you know if I find it. But for those of you out there, if you are looking to take this trade, I'm hoping to get filled somewhere within this region over here. and I got my stop underneath there. Then this I've now taken on leverage. So the lesson, what's the lesson over here? Because now I'm rambling on. The lesson is that you don't need to always trade spot. What you can do is you can actually still go in the derivatives exchanges on either 𝗍𝗵𝗏 or BitGet, and instead just enter the trade on 1x leverage, because it's just much easier to manage the position. If you want to place your stop or you want to adjust your stop, you can move it around, you can trail your stop loss up. The derivatives platform is fantastic, and then obviously you can set your TPs higher as well, right? And you can adjust those as price moves. So that's my lesson learned. Like, I'm over it with spot. I'm over spot trading. I'm going to just stick with low leverage, very, very low leverage, 1x, 1.2x leverage, because I have quite a big account size. So I don't need to take on too much risk. So that's a little lesson for the day. Okay, moving on. But what does that mean now? If you look at Ethereum over here, so that was the aim, right? I was aiming to get into the position down here, expecting you're going to rip through and now just have such an easy invalidation, because if now you're buying into a lot of risk after a move like this, because this could still prove to be a deviation and get smacked back into the range, and then obviously that's going to create a lot of panic and it's going to be a strong sell-off. So everything that I do, it's always I'm trying to minimize risk as much as possible. And I had an easy way of minimizing risk over here, seeing what was happening also with negative funding rates on Ethereum and the volume changing. I could see that this was going to pump through, but yeah, you miss it. So what now? Well, if you do look at this on a daily, I mean, it's obviously been quite a stellar move. At some point, there's going to be a throwback. At some point, there will be a throwback. And all you can do now is wait for that to happen. Yes, this can push higher. Your FOMO is going to go through the roof if it gets to like 23,000 or 2,300. But then whenever that next pullback comes, it's about getting a safer entry, right? So you just want to monitor the market structure. So you're looking for, right, higher highs, higher lows. You get a big push up. Even though you might be buying higher here, this is still a higher low, and therefore you have a safer entry. At that point, you can be like, okay, cool, stop goes underneath there and enter the trade. So I'll keep you up to date on Twitter as well as in the Discord. I didn't tweet about that trade yet because it wasn't solidified. I was still in the process of entering it and I wasn't finished yet. Okay. I'm sure you're bored of that story. Let's move on. Let's go on to some of the other altcoins that were pretty interesting. Okay, Solana. We did identify Solana, right? But it is coming into resistance, and then you're waiting for the pullback. Any pullbacks, even if it rejects from here, we will attempt to re-add in and around that 21 position. Optimism. Let's look at Optimism. So Optimism broke above the range highs. Here's the range highs over here, and it had this wedge pattern that was forming, broke above that level. Basically, that could be an aggressive buy with your stop that goes below, basically at 2.1, which is below that wick over there. You don't want to see price coming back down into that level. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is another one. Hasn't taken off yet. Remember, we did show it yesterday in the grand scheme of things, deviation. Here you're going back all the way towards the mid-range. If alts are really going to rally, that could be a longer term hold. Next, GNS. Here's GNS as well, coming off. So it's been holding and respecting this horizontal around that $6.80 level. Also, you have a diagonal, which it's respected and it's bounced off of that. So I like that double confluence, right? Strong horizontal, a diagonal that's being respected and tested only for the third time. So it should be relatively strong. 1, 2, you now can fit the trend line in, third touch, and you're expecting that to push on up. Aptos, look, you got a level over here, horizontal. Obviously not that much trading history, but look, is it really going to be this easy? It just broke this level. So very simply, you enter the trade, you throw in your stop underneath here. Obviously you don't go in too heavy, because from $3 to $10 is a 30% move, so you have to calculate your position size, but you would expect that this shouldn't come back below there. If you see something like that, I mean, you're still making a lower low, but it is a retest into support and the trend line. You want to be aggressive on your stop. It would go underneath that wick over here, which is, let me give you the price, $10.42. Okay, Blur. I think there might have been something on Blur. Let's just click here, make this bigger for you. Okay, here's 𝗏𝗏. So also 𝗏𝗏 kind of breaking out of a little wedge over here. Probably not the best trade, illiquid, but there it is. That's something if you're a DJ and you want to take quick trades, that is something that you can look at over there. All right, let's see. What else is there? This is my portfolio list. Let's just move this one up. Okay, here the pivot level, daily pivot level has now moved up to 30,253. As long as Bitcoin's above 30,253 and it closes that candle there today, expect upside continuation. Probably going to keep pushing on up. Next, the Bollinger Bands over here with the BBWP. I just want to show you the volatility on some of the coins that we just looked at. So Bitcoin still got some upside momentum potential. The volatility has not ended over there. Ethereum still got a lot of upside, or that's, sorry, ETH BTC still got a lot of upside. Ethereum got even more upside potential. What about Solana? Solana came off very low volatility. I didn't even notice that. So this has a lot of room to still go up, based on what the volatility is showing. Optimism. Volatility is only starting to lift off now. Let's see 𝗟𝗲𝗿𝗄. 𝗟𝗲𝗄 also low volatility. It hasn't taken off. So these are still relatively early trades. GNS. Volatility is still contracting over there. Aptos. Volatility also low and only just starting to take off. 𝗏𝗏. Okay, we said let's forget 𝗏𝗏. Lastly, let's just see if there's any levels to show you over here. Quickly go on a bit of a high time frame. Guys, please smash the like button as well. It does help get the show out there. Is there anything noteworthy to show here on Bitcoin? Okay. Yeah, pretty much all in line with what I said. Make sure that you smash the like button. Also, check out the partners below. If you don't have a 𝗍𝗶𝗃 account, a BitGet account, a OKX account, Prime account, you can sign up there. There's sign-up bonuses. That's the reason I'm telling you this, because there is sign-up bonuses that you can claim if you use those links. Also, OKX have their trading competition. You just need to take, well, it's not really a competition. You just need to, it's more like a draw. And all you need to do is take a trade on there. Each trade that you take is an entry, and you can win 2 Manchester City Football Club tickets. Do you guys know if Rand gave any of that away? Okay, Rand has not given it away, so maybe he's going to do it today because that is for, or does it run over till the 17th? Maybe he could still do it next week. It's up until the 17th. Then there's 7 nights holiday in the Maldives, and then a Tesla Model 3 is your grand prize. So that's it from me, folks. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. Cheers for now.